Welcome back to another episode of 305 Takes. And today we're doing a little bit different for you guys as we'll be joined by a guest today. We'll have our good friend and previous appearance maker on the podcast, Moises, joining us today as we're going to break down me and Angel's fantasy football matchup this weekend with the winner going off into the championship game to represent the podcast. So, bragging rights are definitely on the line this week as we go into that fantasy football matchup. And we're going to be breaking down some of the games later on in the episode, but mainly today is sticking to some of the fantasy football that you'll be hearing from us today.
Yeah. So, Moy, before we say anything, just hear the lineups for me and Myles on the matchup. So, going in, if it stays now, it would be Kirk Cousins versus Joe Burrow. I think Myles has the edge on me on that one. He's got Joe. Then running backs, I got Dalvin Cook, Jerry McKinnon versus Myles has James Conner, Kenneth Walker.
Not liking either one of those matchups for me.
And then wide receivers, it's close. It's very close. Tyreek Hill and Devontae Smith for Myles. I got Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown. Tight end, it could be very lopsided. Myles has got George Kittle. I got Schultz. And then flex, he's got Pacheco. I have Godwin. Defense, Myles has got the Steelers. I got the Bucks. Kicker, he has Tyler Bass. I got Tucker. And then punter, he's got Phillies punter, and I got the Giants punter.
Yeah, in reality, you guys both have players that are kind of scary to play against, as in Tyreek Hill can go off for, 30, 40, who knows? And then you also on the opposite side have A.J. Brown and Justin Jefferson who can do the same thing. Yeah. So it's it kind of all depends on who really gives you that blow-up game to make that big difference in the matchup. I think Kirk Cousins will have a decent game against New York at home. But I think Joe Burrow also at New England is also an underrated defensive matchup. And I think he could struggle. He could. He's playing MVP ball right now. He's in the Pro Bowl. He's in the discussion. He got his swag back. But I think he could struggle in New England,
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like they're due. Because they pulled that Tampa Bay game out of nowhere. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is a game where they struggle a little bit.
Tom Brady pulled the game for them. We talked about it. Tom Brady pulled that game for them.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I feel like the luck has to run out at some point for them. And, we'll see what happens there. But I'm scared with my running backs because you got Connor going in there with the third string quarterback. And I don't know what to expect out of that game. And then Kenneth Walker, who missed he came back last week for the Thursday night game against San Francisco, didn't really do anything. And he's missed the last 2 days of practice. So I don't even know if we can keep him in there at running back, which kind of throws my roster into a little bit of a flux. But we'll see. I got to, pay attention to those practice injury updates. But what I think is the most interesting aspect of the whole matchup between us is that Angel has a lot of guys going on Saturday. He's got obviously all the Minnesota guys. So Cousins, Cook, Jefferson all go Saturday, but also McKinnon goes Saturday for Kansas City. A.J. Brown and Schultz will match up Saturday in that Eagles-Cowboys game. So could be decided by Saturday, honestly. I could be waking up Sunday morning like, oh my God, I need a game from Tyreek Hill.
But that's the thing. The one matchup that scares me is that in his flex, he's got Pacheco, and I also have McKinnon. So it's basically whichever running back gets the most snaps. I'm like, I feel like could determine it because my team has been so boom or bust this year. I know I can top 200 in a week, but I also know my team can just lay an egg and I'll get maybe 100.
And you had the big McKinnon game last week, which was huge for you.
Yeah, so I'm like, man, dude, the Chiefs, they won the division. Dude, they just want to run the ball against Seattle and just say, all right, Mahomes, we're going to keep you rested until the playoffs. That very much could happen.
If that happens, then Pacheco, I hope, gets the carries because McKinnon usually kills in the passing game. You look at the last 2 games, he's put up 34 with 9 targets in both of them. Jeez.
But in sports, there's always momentum, and there's always when guys are in form, quote unquote. And McKinnon's really in form right now. He's getting these rushes and these carries and these catches, and he's getting these yardage if it's nothing, if it's no problem. So I would say out of those two, he is the one that's in form. But Pacheco could have that breakout rookie game where he just goes off. So That is a
I'm
big.
just hoping Seattle's Buns defense just helps me out there. That's all it is, and then it just comes down to who do they help out more, McKinnon when he has the ball or Pacheco when he actually gets his touches. But I mean, right now the projections have Angel at 132.3, at 130.4, so that it's pretty razor thin, honestly, and it's gonna be a crazy matchup either way it
Yeah.
goes.
And then the winner
Oh,
of
let me ask you both. Are you guys, is that your final answer for the matchups, or are you guys still making adjustments on your bench?
So I'm trying to upgrade at defense, but I mean, I like the matchup of
yeah.
uh Pittsburgh against the Raiders just because I feel like they'll be able to get after him a couple, especially with sacks, but they're just projected at such a low amount that I'm kind of scared about keeping them there.
There's not that
And
many
then
like good players now to pick up because once like everyone got eliminated, no one made any moves to like drop anyone or did anything. So I was like, man, I wish that some people could just like drop like certain players that would be on the bench. I'm like, cool, I could go pick them up now, but I just can't. I mean, so I picked up the Bucks defense because I saw they're playing Arizona, and I was like, okay, if Arizona can duplicate what they did against Denver,
Mhm.
I feel like I should be good. Like I go, okay, maybe I can pull this win off because I don't know how Jefferson will do against the Giants. I'm like, I feel like after that week, the Vikings will be like so high off of that win. I'm like, could see them coming out slow to start the game against the Giants, and then I don't know what AJ Brown's going to do with Gardner Minshew. I'm hoping Gardner just like force feeds him the football and says, "All right, Miles Sanders, like no, we're not running the ball today. I'm just going to AJ." Because I feel like Gardner Minshew can be like the next Ryan Fitzpatrick in terms of like just throwing it. He's like, okay, cool. I see a target. I'm going.
Yeah,
and they definitely
I feel like Jalen Hurts has been playing MVP football, of course, but I do feel like the Eagles are underrated as a like as an offense as a whole, you know. So I feel like that system
Right.
is so easy to come into as for a backup. Like I feel like Minshew's going to be just fine in that offense. I could be completely wrong. Cowboys are obviously one of the best defenses in the league, and I believe it's an away game for them.
Yeah,
yeah, it's in
they're in
Dallas.
Dallas. Yep.
Yeah.
Dallas. So
And
it's going to be a tight game, but I just think the Eagles, their coaching and Minshew's a veteran, so it's not like he's a rookie or someone coming in last minute like that.
yeah,
He knows the
and
playbook to the T.
and they have the talent around them definitely to support him and make some of those easier throws and try to get the ball out of his hands quickly if that's what they
Don't
need. And
forget, Goddard's coming back this weekend, so that's a big time
He
plus
could
for
take
him.
away targets from AJ Brown.
Right. Backup tight ends usually tend to go to the tight end. I mean, sorry,
yeah,
quarterbacks tend to go to the
yeah,
tight end.
and I have Goddard on this team, but I'm just scared of putting him back in first week off of that injury. So hopefully Kittle doesn't let me down. I'm hoping that him and Purdy, same type of situation with the backup quarterback. Just look for the little release valve in the tight end, and then just for reference, me and Angel did face off once this regular season, and Angel beat the absolute brakes off of me
Oh,
with a
well, wait,
final
what team?
score of
I'm gonna
162 to 125. And I
But that's
remember,
me getting payback because I faced Miles in week one, and Miles really beat me like
oh, we played
150
twice
to
this week.
101.
Oh, yes, I
That's
forgot
hilarious.
about that. I forgot about that. But that was when that was also a week where I mean, if you look back on it, our teams are completely different. I had Cam Akers starting at running back, put up this
Wow.
solid goose egg for me in that week one matchup,
Yeah, and
and
Derrick Henry
22
gave
points
me
from
8.
Pittsburgh's defense. So
Derrick
our
Henry,
matchups this year have been very, very high variance because even the matchup that we had later in the season in week 10, I remember we were talking about it on the
yep.
podcast that week because both of our quarterbacks, Lamar and Joe Burrow, were on buys that week. So we had to pick up quarterbacks off the waiver wire. And I went with one Jimmy G for 15 points, and you went with Daniel Jones for 18. But you still just you laid it on my team that
Well,
week.
the rest of my team like exploded, so I was
Yeah,
very happy
Jefferson
about
went
that.
crazy. Jefferson 10 catches, 193 yards, and a touchdown. Aaron
That
Jones 23.
that was good, but boy, that actually transitions us because I want everyone to know if they forgot since the last time we were here, we had you on after like the draft, and we were like, okay, cool. So we're starting off the season. Like it was kind of, I think it was a week before because I wanted everyone like before the week, like, hey, if you want to make a trade, make your team better before week one, you have a window. You have a window, 7 days, and and me and Miles have talked about it on the podcast, and I think we said it's kind of an understatement when we say it. You kind of had the season from hell, and it wasn't even close.
It was so rough. So basically, I thought I had an amazing draft the night of the draft, and ESPN's projected me to finish first and this and that, which, by the way, I'm a seasoned veteran at fantasy football, so I know that doesn't mean one thing. But, I'm excited with the draft. I'm like, wow, I had a pretty good draft. I'm feeling confident. I got my guys, quote unquote, or whatnot. And I'm looking, I have some depth too. But in reality, my team, one, didn't show up and just kind of tempered expectations the whole season and just like kind of dropped the ball. But secondly, fantasy football is just like this sometimes, and I faced the highest scorer in the league 6 weeks in a row to start the season. Like I was almost thinking, wow, should I draft a full DraftKings lineup of whoever I'm playing against next week? Because they really were dropping 220 points on me. It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, because I have your schedule pulled up. I just want to read this schedule. So week 1, you played Peter. You lost 158 to 148. Week 2, you faced Alex. You lost 204 to 156. You faced Dominic 150 to 111. You faced Nick 160 to 130. You faced JP 157, 151. Then you got your first win. You beat me 139 to 120. But then after that, the losses just you had a tough stretch of losses. Then you played Myles. You lost 164 to 100. Then you lost to Edwin 191 to 104. And then to me, this was probably the biggest loss. You lost to Pete 197 to 97. Like that's
that's rough.
I was just like, me and Myles would just before times we would go on the podcast, we're like, man, bro, this guy can't catch a break.
Yeah, legit the season from hell.
You can't control these things, so you try not to look at it that much. But this was a very, very frustrating season. I won't even lie.
I mean, because you have a good team. It's just
maybe it doesn't look as good now because people are on injured reserve and stuff.
But still, you had Kyler.
Let's start off with the fact that I drafted Jonathan Taylor first.
Yeah.
Or actually,
no, you got him in a trade. I remember because Ed told me about it.
Jonathan Taylor. So let me take that back. I'm sorry, but I ended up trading. So I pretty much had a top 10 player at each position the whole season, except I still just couldn't get over that hump because I don't have that player that can go boom like the Tyreek Hills and like the AJ Browns and these guys, which I also had AJ Brown and gave to you.
Yeah. I mean, no,
you gave me a fair trade with Mark Andrews, which at the time I thought I was winning the trade, but Mark Andrews has slowed down a lot without Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, and also, I mean, Mark Andrews got injured, so that I know it can control. Because I was like, all right, I feel like it's fair. I really wanted help at flex. I'm like, I know I could probably grab a tight end somewhere. Tyler Conklin was hot at that time, so I was like, okay, maybe this works. But it just, I ended up dropping in for Hayden Hurst, and then I traded Hayden Hurst and someone else, and I got Aaron Jones and Dalton Schultz. So like, I was able to like switch it around. But I know because I talked to Myles, I was like right after the draft, because you texted me and it's like, okay, what do you want from Mark Andrews? I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't know if I want to trade him now.
Yeah, and because my thing was just like my big thing about fantasy is I just can't do waiver wire for tight ends. Like I'm not doing streaming. Like I want one guy, set it and forget it basically. So that's why I was like, oh, what can I possibly get for Andrews? And then the thing that I was telling Angel on the podcast more is that we have our sleeper league, and me and you were running through it the first couple of weeks. I was like, all right, yeah, he might be down bad in this league, but at least we have the sleeper league.
Right.
And then Myles told me what happened in the sleeper league. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I was doing pretty good to start, but then Lamar Jackson got hurt and everything just started going pretty downhill after that. I'm not going to lie to you because I did go, it was a 2 QB league. So I just went Josh Allen and then I followed the second round with Lamar Jackson. And they were just killing it the first 8 weeks of the season. I was like 7-1 or something. But then Lamar got hurt and just things started. It's fantasy football. It's a long season and
you need luck. You need luck on your side too. That's the thing. Especially because like you look at your roster and like even like you said, everybody's gonna feel confident coming out of the draft and looking at their team and you're like, oh, dude, I'm gonna get this amount of points from this guy every week. All right, I'm gonna have to worry about this position. But you really do have to get lucky.
And at the end of the day, I feel like I've made this mistake and I continue to make this mistake, which is I tend to look at matchups too much and I try to base my lineup almost like the flexes and things like that on the matchups when it's like just go with your guys, man. Just go with your guys, play your guys. Don't overthink it. Like last week in another league, I started Zonovan Knight
Yeah,
over
the
Oh,
Jets guy.
Stevenson because Zonovan Knight's running hot. He's playing well. Ramondre Stevenson was hurt. He didn't play the game before. He got taken out with the ankle injury. So I'm like, that's an easy play. And then look, Ramondre blows up. Donovan doesn't do anything and ended up losing by like 5 points. So
oh,
another league. So it's like just go with your guys and don't really look at the injury report too much. If they're limited in practice and they're play on the weekend, just play them with confidence.
that I had the same issue because I was like Ramondre. I was like, okay, he's probably not going to play. I was like, let me just pick up McKinnon. I'll put him in my bench just in case if I hear today that Ramondre's not going to start. And it was looking like it's like, oh yeah, Ramondre Stevenson most likely will not play. I was like, all right, let's put in McKinnon. At least I have a spare. And no, eventually it was the right decision.
Right. That one worked out for you.
Yeah, but I was like, oh man. I was like, once I saw Ramondre play, but that was good. But I will say,
I'm pretty surprised you're benching both Ramondre and Aaron Jones. I mean, your team's pretty deep to be able to do that.
I mean, because I just
Stacked up.
That's pretty stacked right now. I'm not gonna lie to you.
my running backs were good because I liked my running backs coming out of the draft. I had Derrick Henry, I had Elijah Mitchell, and I had Miles Sanders. Miles somehow convinced me to trade Derrick Henry. Thanks, Miles. Elijah Mitchell got hurt.
Wait a minute. Whoa, hold on.
Yo,
I can't let you keep going right now. Who did you trade Henry for? What?
Okay, so I traded Derrick Henry after week 1 when Miles just told me, he was like, bro, did you see the hit Tay Crowder laid on him? And Derrick Henry went back. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's right, man. Like, this is bad. This is a bad sign. So I traded Derrick Henry and someone else I traded to Dom, and I got Mike Evans, Dalvin Cook, and MVS.
Okay. I mean,
I felt like it was fair because I was like, I know what I'm getting out of Dalvin Cook.
It's fair, but damn, Derrick Henry's been a beast.
I know. And then after 2 weeks, and after week 2, Dom traded him after he had that bad game against Buffalo.
God.
But
I should have been on these trades, man. I could have done something this season.
Well, because my thing was, I was like, all right, you might want to get ahead of, like, if this is a potential season where, Derrick Henry isn't King Henry anymore. So I was trying to help him out, It wasn't out of bad intention.
It wasn't a bad
like,
intention.
I'm trying to make this kid's team
I was like,
worse.
Miles was right. I have to do this. And next thing you know, I saw Derrick Henry go on that stretch, and I was like, are you kidding me?
But I wanted to ask, Moy, is there anything based off this season that you're going to try to take into next year when you're putting together maybe some mock drafts or potential areas on the team that you're going to target going into the draft for next year's team so that, maybe we have some different results going into the next year's fantasy season?
I feel like you read my mind because I was thinking just now in the league that we're both in that I ended up getting so many guys for value after like the 4th round or so, like starting in the 5th and 6th, 7th and 8th and 9th and 10th. Those rounds I ended up getting so much value, quote unquote, if you looked at the ESPN rankings or whatnot when we drafted. But I feel like going into next season, I'm still just gonna go with my guys, even though like I may see some value here or there. Like I'd rather go with my guys and just actually make the picks that I feel. Because Ramondre Stevenson, for example, I was super high on him going into the preseason.
And you dropped him.
I dropped him?
Yeah, in our league, the one that all 3 of us are playing, you dropped him. And then I scooped him up off of waivers. I was like,
wow,
okay.
That's pretty insane. Yeah, so that was a bad reminder. You shouldn't even have told me that because I forgot. I was super high on Ramondre. I pretty much drafted him in every league, but yeah, I mean, that's someone, for example, if you said I took him in this league, then okay, that's a bad example. But just guys like that, which I had on the team, and now that you mentioned that, Angel, like that's another thing that I'm going to do into next season is kind of wait it out, even if it's 4 weeks in, 5 weeks in. Because look, I took Kenneth Walker in a couple leagues, and luckily I never dropped him. But there was a couple other guys that I know did drop him after 3-4 weeks because they needed the space or whatnot.
And he wasn't doing anything.
It's the same as dropping Ramondre in this league. Like I kind of got a little desperate because I was 0-4 and whatnot. And look, he could have actually won me the league if I would have stayed in there with him.
I mean,
who knows?
Yeah, but there was one pick that you had that everyone wanted. You got St. Brown at such a late round. I was like, oh my God, this was like late round picks. That was the best one. And I really tried to trade for him. But I told Miles, I was like, before the trade deadline, I was like, I sent Moises an offer to get St. Brown. I offered AJ and something. Like, I didn't care what I had to add. I
Right.
wanted St. Brown. Because, Moy, I don't know if you know, next week, if I were to make the championship and I would have made that trade with you, St. Brown plays the Bears next
Oh
week.
wow.
That's what was like my focus. I'm like, I'm looking at the championship game. If I have him on my lineup that week, I know I'm winning. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts that I lose.
I kind of just I didn't want to make that trade because if you really wanted him, I would have done it, and you probably did. I was just thinking, man, like I don't want to send him somebody from my team and kind of ruin his mojo because I feel like AJ Brown's still the guy. Like even
Yeah.
though St. Brown's amazing, I just feel like wow, AJ Brown, like if he trades him to me and then loses, like he's gonna regret that one. So I didn't want to be the I just feel like after a certain week, I shouldn't be involved in the trade since my record was that bad.
I mean, as long as my thing is just the trade can't question the integrity of the league. As long
No,
as it's still like a trade.
that was a
Yeah.
fair trade.
Yeah. So I don't think it would have necessarily been, but I do appreciate you looking out, being like, oh, I don't want to get like some bad juju to a team that might make the playoffs. So that is kind of
Yeah,
looking out for everybody.
like that was a
Um,
super fair trade, but I was still gonna reach out to Angel and be like, "Listen, you're my guy, so if you really want it, I'll do it for you." Because it was fair. It's not like I'm doing him a favor in this
Yeah.
case.
yeah.
That's why I was like, I sent him the first. I was like, okay, I know this has to be a fair trade. I don't want anyone coming out as like, oh, this is an unfair trade. No, I offered AJ. Like, this is
Yeah,
fair.
yeah, that was fair. Super.
But to go back to the thing, when in terms of like our league, I want you to know, how did you feel about the league in general?
No, I mean it was night and day from last time because remember last year we actually had one of those trades that it was like someone traded their three best players for like three of the
Nothing.
worst players on the other team, and it's just like the guy was trying to defend himself, like I'm not in the playoff hunt anymore, it doesn't matter, this and that, but it's like, dude, we're
Not
playing,
them.
like full
Not
disclosure
them.
here, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but we're playing for some money and stuff, so it's like,
Yeah.
come on, respect everybody else's team, and like at the end of the day, fantasy football, yeah, it's a hobby. I wouldn't say it's a job at all, but it is a little bit of an effort to go on there, check the lineups, check the teams, make sure since we love sports, it's easier for us. But if you gave it to a random person that didn't love sports, they'll be like, dude, that's too much. Like I'm not doing all that.
Yeah.
So it's like at least out of respect to everyone's time and teams and playoff hunt, it's like, come on, you can't make a trade like that, Everyone knows this.
Did you like how
This year,
competitive
this
this
year was
league
awesome,
was?
man. This year was really awesome.
Yeah, because I
I
try to
didn't see one.
make it
I didn't see one
competitive.
unfair trade. I didn't see anybody do anything stupid. Like it was on point.
I wanted this league to be competitive as it possibly can, and I feel like I almost hit it like on the nail.
No, it was one of the best leagues I was in. Sucks my team was how it was, but it really was one of the best.
And that's even coming from Moy, who at multiple times during the season had to go into our group chat and be like, "Hey guys, I understand my record is what it is, but I'm not
Don't send me
taking
this
boneheaded
trade.
trades."
Oh, I feel bad because Pete was probably the predicator of that, sending those trades. I will say this, Peter, in a lot of leagues that I played with him, a lot of it was quantity over quality.
Right.
So that's where I was like, that's why he was sending those
Right.
trades.
If the thing is, if we had three flex or two receivers, or sorry, three receivers like they do in some other leagues, maybe I would have considered a couple of them. I'm not gonna lie. But
Yeah.
since we're only capped at the two receivers, two running backs, and just one flex, I couldn't do any of those trades because he was offering me like three, like 25 to 45 ranked players for like a number three position player. It's like I can't do that, obviously. But I
Yeah.
remember the one thing I wrote in the chat was, "I will not give up 2 for 1. I will not give up a 2 for 1." Because like I got so many of those offers that I'm like, all right, enough's enough. Like I need to send something in the chat.
Man, gotta love fantasy football.
Yeah, I think honestly for me next year, what I'm going to go into with my game plans for the draft is just get absolutely stacked up at receiver and figure it out as the season goes, whether I need to make trades. And then the other thing, I'm glad you brought up Kenneth Walker. It seems like the finesse is we have to get in early on one of these rookie running backs. Because now it's the second year that it's happened. Last year was Javonte Williams, and if you wrote it out with him, you got paid off in the playoffs. This year, same thing with Kenneth Walker, because especially when you
Brees
said at
Hall
the beginning of the
too.
year, yeah, Brees Hall was snapping, but Kenneth Walker was a guy that people picked up, wasn't doing absolutely anything at the beginning of the year. But you got to be patient with these guys. Pacheco, has had a little bit of success. White over in Tampa Bay has had a little bit of success. So we got to figure out the rookie running back that's put into the best situation because
What
that
about
looks like
Damian
it's
Pierce, right?
yeah, Damian Pierce, he was a solid pick all
He's
year
trash.
and on a bad team too. So got to give him
Brian
credit for that too.
Robinson lately. Brian Robinson has played good.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think the rookie running backs, and then next year I'm just going to stack up at receiver and just trade because even if it's a guy that you necessarily don't want to have in your lineup all the time, if he's on the bench and has a good week, it might be just, hey, sell high, try to get, maybe a couple of guys, a running back that you might need a stash or a backup that you never know with the injury situation.
And also, you got to you have to be the first one to take a tight end off the board because Travis Kelce is here, and then I think we could kind of say the rest is like down there. Not to
Well,
diminish
especially
like
with
Kittle or Andrews or any tight end. It's just
dude,
in terms of
Andrews fell off
fantasy.
this year. Andrews fell off this year, bro.
In
Unfortunately.
in terms of fantasy, they just haven't been it. Kittle, I feel like it would have if the offense would have ran like the way it is now at the beginning of the year. But you have to be the first one to take Travis Kelce off the board.
Yeah, it has to be Chelsea. And I don't know what's going to be the consensus on our boy Kyle Pitts. Like, are people like what?
Good player, just on the bad team.
I mean, but is he a good player?
Yeah, come on. Like he gets open, and let's be like Drake London is good, but he's not gonna like force a defense to say, oh yeah, you have to double me.
Right. That's the
I
thing.
don't know.
Like Kyle Pitts was one getting double team every single game. Two, they were running I mean, let me not curse. They were running the ball a lot
Yeah.
in Atlanta, obviously.
And the
They
quarterback
run the ball
situation
more
is
than any
terrible.
other NFL team this season.
The
So
quarterback
they run the
sucks.
ball more than anyone. Say it again, Angel.
The quarterback sucks.
And then lastly, Marcus Mariota is like, he's good, he's decent, but he's whatever, Like there's a reason why he got benched late in the season. Like you're not doing enough.
Yeah.
He doesn't add
For a
spark.
rookie.
He doesn't. I saw like I would say 3 or 4 Falcon games, and I would watch like because I had Kyle Pitts in a couple of leagues. I have him in Dynasty and stuff. So I watch his highlights. I watch him like analysts talk to him before then after the games about him, but he was missed on so many throws. Like I wouldn't say he's the best. I'm not defending him that much. I'm not gonna out here say like he was beasting it up. No, he definitely slacked off a little bit this year. I just feel like the system was the worst for him to do something.
Yeah, and I feel like it might be a situation where it's like Saquon, where everybody took him back-to-back years high. He doesn't finish the season because of injury. Obviously, a little bit different there. But then this year, everybody was scared of taking Saquon, and he's been a really good pickup, especially with value too, because of how far he was falling in drafts.
Right.
But that's good. Now, Moy, I think we could get enough fantasy talk to remind you of that. We're gonna go into scores and predictions this week. Just really give our thoughts on the weekend. Cool. So, I mean, do we want to talk about the Jags and the Jets?
I mean, we might as well. The game's happening in 20 minutes. Myles, what do you think first? Let's see. I already have my.
So I'm kind of confused about this one because this line is 2.5. Jets as the favorite. And apparently the Jets are getting bet a lot because it's 2.5 plus 100 for the Jaguars. So we might see a +3 for the Jags. And if that comes, I honestly might bet on the Jags. But I get that the Jets kind of really need this victory because of where they are for the playoffs. And, they kind of have to win out and have some things happen. But I mean, the Jags came off the bye. They go ahead after losing to the Lions. They go ahead and they beat the Ravens. They beat the Cowboys last week, and they beat the Texans sandwiched in between those two games. So coming off those 3 weeks, I really am confused by this game. I thought it would be closer to pick them because I think both these teams are kind of the same, especially with the Jets back with Zach Wilson at quarterback. But the thing that does scare me, though, is that the left tackle Cam Robinson for the Jags is going to be out for the season.
Yeah.
So maybe that affects Lawrence, but I kind of like the Jags in this game.
Angel?
I'm going to be I got really concerned about this game when they said the weather, how it was supposed to rain. And the last time I saw Trevor Lawrence in the rain, it was against the Eagles. Albeit, I know he's playing the Jets, but the Jets, they have a legitimate defense. And I like to say Philly has a great defense. So I'm like, all right, last time I saw that, and without Cam Robinson, I feel like they might struggle. It's a short week. They're going there. So I was like, if I had to pick, I'm just going to pick the Jets just because it's in New York. It's coming off a short week. There might be some bad weather. But if this was like normal conditions, I would pick the Jets because honestly, this is just me. I feel like in 2 years or within that time span of 2 years, I think everyone will be putting Trevor Lawrence as like a top 5 quarterback in the league. Because I really feel like he's that good. Like I personally felt that way coming out of the draft for him because I feel like he was one of those people everyone saw. Like if you saw him in high school, you're just like, that's the first overall pick in the NFL draft.
Right, big time. I feel like I always, I used to play basketball myself in the highest division here in high school in Miami, 8A ball. And I just put myself in the mentality of the players. And it's like, I know where the Jaguars are at mentally tonight. I have a feeling, which is we just beat the Cowboys in dramatic fashion in a high scoring, it was basically like an all-star game if you really watched it. Touchdowns left and right. Trevor Lawrence balled out. Dak Prescott balled out. There was no defense. These guys are unguardable for a quick point. And I just feel like the Jaguars coming now 4 days later into New York to play a tough New York Football Jets team that has a lot of young guys that are coming in and producing. Like, who they draft first? Sauce Gardner. I think he's a Pro Bowler, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson, he's starting on their team. Then they got Jermaine Johnson from FSU, who he's been making some plays. Like against the Bills a couple weeks ago, he had that block punt to kind of keep them in the game. And, he's been making some plays. He's getting more and more involved. But these guys, if you look at their bodies, if you look at their size, if you look at their speed, they're like grown men. And then following right after that, obviously he's on injured reserve now, but they also got Breece Hall. So just going down the roster of the Jets pickups in the draft this year, I mean, they had a great draft, and I don't know. I just think it's a sneaky Thursday night game that the Jets might just come out and just make some noise. The fans are it's going to be packed. And I don't know. I'm going with the Jets tonight. I could be wrong. I mean, the Jaguars could win by 14 and I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm going with the Jets tonight.
I like the pick. And I mean, they definitely have set themselves up well for the future based off this draft. And I also just think they have a really good young defense. And Robert Saleh, obviously, came as the defensive coordinator from the 49ers. So I really do think that they are set up for the future. My biggest thing is just that if Zach Wilson doesn't look good, I don't know if they go to Joe Flacco. I don't know if you guys have been seeing these reports about this practice squad quarterback that they have active for the game. That's like, I guess, like a Taysom Hill type thing. Runs like a 4.5, 39-inch vertical. And they're saying that there's a package of plays for him. So I don't know if Wilson struggles if they go to this, kind of wildcat look and Joe Flacco, because Mike White's not active for the game. So that would be my only thing. What happens if the Jets don't start off particularly strong on offense? And with, this kind of being like a season on the line type of game, do they pull the plug on Zach Wilson and just say, we need to win this game and forget developing the, former number 2 overall pick? That would be my only concern about that is if, what happens if they do start the game slow.
Yeah, I think at this point with all the quarterback changes and stuff, I think they kind of have to roll with him, but I don't know if they're like fist pumping about it either. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
definitely
it's
not.
It's going to be a really good game. It's going to be a really good game.
I think it'll be an interesting game too, especially with both of these teams, with the momentum that we talked about the Jags coming into the game with, and with the Jets, realistically having a shot at making the playoffs if they, just take care of what's in front of them and, get some victories, consecutively. So I do think it'll be a good game, and it's not one of those Thursday night games where I'm like, oh, we got to watch Saints Falcons.
Man, I'm pretty sure the Jets are thinking about that draft. They're like, we got Zach Wilson, we left Trey Lance on the board, Justin Fields. And then the names just probably keep going. Not to say anything
Mac Jones
bad about
and Davis Mills.
Not to say anything bad about Zach Wilson. He has the arm talent. We know that. But it's like Justin Fields has been like that dude this year with a bad team. With a bad
If
team.
they had Justin Fields, and by the way, let me remind everybody, I cannot stand the New York Jets.
Yeah, facts.
I'm a Dolphin fan in Miami. I love the Ravens. You all know I'm a huge Ravens fan. I can't stand the Jets, so it's not like I don't want to talk great on them either. But if they had,
that's why it pains me to say that they have a good future. I'm like, damn, like really, they kind of figured it out.
They're only a quarterback away. Fields,
I really would be like, wow, Jets are the real deal if they had Justin Fields.
Because the
Dude,
only thing they would have to do is probably build the offensive line. Outside of that, they wouldn't need to do anything else.
that offense would be scary. Wilson, Elijah Moore, Justin Fields, and the running back if Brees Hall was healthy. Ooh,
And your
I
third
would
best
like that.
receiver is Corey Davis. When Corey Davis could be a 2 on any team.
Yep.
Yeah, they definitely have a bright future. So we'll see what's in store for this Thursday night game. But let's hit some of the other games that we have coming up for the weekend slate. So we do have a whole slate of games on Saturday. For me, I think one of the more interesting games is going to be the Giants and the Vikings. I also think Bengals Patriots is also going to be a pretty interesting one because I think, like we touched on when we were talking about the fantasy, I think the Patriots can give the Bengals somewhat of a challenge, especially defensively. It's just with that Patriots team, it's been a struggle for them offensively all season, and they're going to be without Devontae Parker again for this one with the concussion, and I just don't know how a team bounces back after you lose that way against the Raiders. Like, I don't know. Like, I get that they're only at 7-7 going into the game, so they're realistically not eliminated from the playoffs. But that's just such a gut wrenching, like, never seen before type of loss. Like, I want to see how that team bounces back.
That was your bust of the week.
Yeah, I know. I want to see how they bounce back from that because that's just like literally rip out my heart and stomp on it because I wouldn't want to play football again. Like, not especially not a week later, 6 days later, not even.
Yeah, that's one of those losses that quite literally had grown men crying in the locker room after the game. I don't know. There's a few videos on a couple guys actually dropping tears and actually crying in front of the media. So that'll do that to you. But one thing I will say in general is, man, December football in the NFL is something else.
It
Every
hurts.
year we see it.
It hurts.
Every
When
year
you
we see it.
lose, those games just hit harder.
Oh yeah, every year we see it because the pressure's on. Each snap counts. The people are obviously the players are thinking about each throw, each catch, and you're supposed to just go out there and play, but we're not robots here. So these
Yeah.
guys aren't robots. They're thinking about the crowd, the noise, wow, if I drop this, I'm gonna be talked about and this and that. But yeah, December football is gonna be crazy. I would say I got the Patriots on that one against the Bengals.
I hate to say it too. I think so. After that loss, I'm pretty sure Bill Belichick made practice a nightmare for every player. So I'm just like, I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
he's.
but that could also backfire.
It could
Like, I'm
backfire.
sure
It
practice
definitely
has been
could.
hell all year. And
If
it's like,
not,
damn, we've gone through all
Right.
this and we still lose a
Right.
game
or
like that.
maybe
So,
Jacoby Myers just somehow plays the game of his life after making arguably the worst decision
Under
of
of
his
the
NFL
year.
career.
Right.
yeah, he could
I,
definitely bounce back candidate for him for sure.
that's a good game. The one game I have circled just because this team is fighting for their playoff life, I have 49ers Commanders. I feel like that could be a sneaky good game because I
You
like the
think so?
Commanders defense. And I'm like, the 49ers defense, they know they clinched the division. They might be fighting for the 2 seed, but they go, all right, we're looking at playoff matchups. Who do we want to play? And it's like, all right, if they're the 2 seed now, they'll face the 7 seed, which would be the Commanders, but that'll be the Vikings, or they could face the Giants, who I feel like it's a much better matchup for them, just for the simple fact, I think the Giants defense is good, but I don't think they're good enough to stop the 49ers offense. So that's where I can see maybe the 49ers could like say, all right, we want to win the game, but I wouldn't be too mad if we lost. Because I feel like Kyle Shannon's more into the matchup of it's like, okay, who do we want to play in the first round of the playoffs?
I don't know. I think both those teams, especially after the game we saw on Sunday, and with the Commanders, sorry, excuse me for the slip up there, but with the Commanders coming off a bye and still losing to that New York Giants team, I think the clear favorite that you want to play is the Commanders. And I honestly, for me, I think this one had blowout city written all over it, and it's similar to this Thursday night game. I wouldn't be surprised if Heineke struggles and unfortunately, we have another viewing experience of Carson Wentz. That's what I think might happen in this one is that the 49ers defensive line can really, cause havoc as we've seen in multiple matchups this year. And if Heineke, fumbles the ball again, like a strip sack like we saw against that Giants game that really turned the whole game on its head, I wouldn't be surprised if they make the move to Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I actually now in this exact point in the season, I wouldn't even mind seeing Carson Wentz back out there. Myles, you nailed it. After a bye week to come in at home against New York and drop the ball and lose that game, that's a big loss. I thought they were for sure going to take that one home and win that game. You had a full week of bye. You're getting it right before
And
the
you
play.
had just played them. That's the
And you
thing. Like you had
tied.
just played them.
You needed that game. You needed that game.
And now you're at home. Like that doesn't make sense. Like that's crazy.
But
Well,
I
what do you
still,
guys think about that? Well, real quick, what do you guys think about that referee that had that little blunder with Terry Scary Terry McLaurin? He pointed at him, he asked, "Am I on the line?"
yeah,
The guy said, "You're good." And then right when the play started, he throws the flag. And they're at the 1 or at
yeah,
the 2 with a minute left, and they're
And
about
they
to score,
scored.
and
yeah.
they
They
score.
scored.
But
Yeah.
I wouldn't be too mad at that call. I'd be more mad at the pass interference call that wasn't called. That one would get me more heated just because I see all these former NFL players, they're all talking. They go, that's Terry's fault for not knowing the rules because he was the sole receiver on that side. So they said he had to be at the line of scrimmage. That's what you have to do. That's your fault for not understanding that. So I'm like, okay, I get that. I'm not in the NFL, so I don't know that rule. They know it. Cool, clear, good to them. But I would be more mad just at that pass interference one because that one would have gave them a fresh set of downs right at the 1, and they could have just sneak it in if they won with Taylor Heineke.
Well, the thing for me, especially like with the Terry thing, is that all he had to do was be on the line of scrimmage. So he just literally had to look down to where the ball was. Like that's my thing. Like, okay, the ref might have screwed him there, but if he just looked down like to where the ball is, then we're talking about, having a different conversation. But the thing that upsets me about the pass interference call is that I don't feel like there was pass interference in that Dolphins game that set up the game winning field goal. But then
Mhm.
I see this play, and that looks like clear pass interference, and
Yeah.
one gets called and one doesn't. So I'm just like, all right, can we just have consistency? Like that's just my thing. Can we just be consistent with it? And like, I'm not necessarily mad about them not calling it there because I'm genuinely like one of the people that's like, all right, last few plays, like let the players genuinely decide. Like let the game decide it. Ref put the referee the whistle in the pocket in those type of circumstances. But that was a tough one, and it's just like I just want the more consistency. Either it's a flag both times or it's not a flag both times.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I would love some consistency, but at the end of the day, there's so much money in each of these games. And while the NFL is not rigged, there's a few
It did
Entertainment.
come
plays.
off sketchy. It
There's
came
a
off
few
sketchy.
plays in the year that you're like, come on, you know what I mean?
Entertainment.
You needed that team to win that time. Like,
Yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe the refs had some money. They had a parlay. They were like, we need this to hit. And hey, if they did it, kudos to them. Like, but it did come off sketchy. It came off sketchy.
these play calls there's a few plays over this weekend, and you're gonna see more tonight and over this next weekend coming up that it's always like that. Like that, what play does everyone still talk about today as a Cowboy fan? The Des Bryant drop or whatnot, or was it a catch? Was it not a catch? I mean, who knows what agenda the NFL was on? I'm not saying there is one, by the way. I'm just saying.
Oh,
I
maybe.
think that was a catch, and I'm not a Cowboy fan. The guy took like 4 steps and then hit the
Yeah,
floor. So
Well, I
anyway,
I
mean, he
agree with
didn't
that.
maintain control, so but
yeah.
I mean, I say because I just like seeing the Cowboys lose. I'm a fan of it. Like when the Cowboys lose, I generally enjoy it just because you always see them talk so much. I don't know what it is with Cowboys fans, but out of all fan bases, they love to talk the most.
Yep.
And I just go, you guys haven't done this in so long, but you love to talk like your team is better than everyone else. And me and Miles talked about it on Monday. And we're like, can these people just admit that Dak is here? Like that's where he is.
I have trouble admitting that, and I'm not a Cowboys fan at all. But I feel like I give Dak so much credit when he doesn't even deserve it, to be honest. He has
And
the
that's what
easiest job in football. They have the best O line, the running game's pristine, and he just has to make the easiest throws. He can't make the difficult throws that they need him to make 3 to 5 times a game. Can't get
and
over
that's
it.
what confuses me because like they always look like they should be better offensively, and it wasn't
Right.
until this year, and especially that Jaguars game, where I was like, all right, if you're a good quarterback, like you just simply don't lose that game.
You have a
Like that's
17
just
point lead. You don't
yeah.
lose that game.
Like you're just not losing that game. So that's when I was like, dude, is he just kind of like whatever? Is he like just victim of the circumstances? Because I mean, when you think back about it, Zeke has been good basically all of Dak's career. He had
Right.
Amari before, and then they paired Amari with CeeDee Lamb. So like he's had weapons all throughout, and now you add Pollard into the mix with how good he's been with as the backup to Zeke. It's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah.
I feel like they've set up the offense perfectly with the O-line and obviously Dalton Schultz is a very good player and obviously CeeDee Lamb's amazing too. But I do feel like second, third, and fourth receivers are lacking a little punch.
I mean, Noah Brown has been solid. I do like Michael Gallup. Michael Gallup, I feel like, is a good receiver. I don't feel like he's a great receiver. That's just me. But I mean, but I
They're
will
not
say,
bad. I just think if they're going to win it all, like they're not projected to, but like they could win it all, then these guys got to step up.
yeah, I do give them credit because last year they were probably the worst division in all of football, and now they're the best division in all of football. Because I thought the NFC East was just so bad last year, and now they kind of like switch places with the NFC South. Because if the season ended today, still Eagles are in the playoffs, Cowboys are in the playoffs, Giants are in the playoffs, Commanders are in the playoffs. I'm just like,
Crazy.
that's unreal. All four
Unreal.
teams are in the playoffs. Where in the AFC East, that I feel like it might happen in the future if the Jets solve their problem at quarterback. Because the Bills can make the playoffs every year. The Dolphins, I feel like they're on track to make the playoffs every year. The Jets, I feel like they can make the playoffs with their team. Patriots, just because it's Belichick, I'm going to give them that nod that they can make the playoffs. Because it could be the same thing there. It really could.
Yeah, I can't stand the Patriots when it comes to playing against them, but I respect them so much. And Bill Belichick, come on, hats off to him. He's the best. Every Sunday they have a chance against anybody, even if it's going to be a boring game, might not be cute. It might not, you know what I mean? It could be ugly as hell sometimes, but he'll figure out a way to at least make it a 3, 5, 7 point game somehow.
Yeah. I mean, it's honestly incredible to see like how competitive the Patriots are in every game. And it's like he always has the right game plan where it's like, I just want to ask him, how do you keep doing that consistently? That's where it's like my head would go. It's like, how do you mastermind that? Because I remember when the Ravens went up there one time and me and Myles talked about it. We were just like expecting Lamar to have a bad game, and he had a real bad game against the Patriots. And we were like, bro, did the Patriots kind of like expose Lamar? Then Lamar went to like have good games, and we are just like, man, how does Belichick keep doing that? He knows how to solve it, but everyone else just can't do it.
And just wait until they get Brady again.
Oh no! Oh wait, Moy, we
Just
actually talked
wait.
about that off air. Do you feel like Tom Brady will go to a different team this offseason that's not the Patriots?
I don't know. I don't know.
Low key, I think he might
like
go to the Jets.
It's like where my tongue.
Nah, no way he does that to the
No,
Patriots, man.
There's no way. He won't go to any opposing divisional rival for the Patriots. There's no way.
I don't know, because I mean, he
No,
knows the
no,
Jets
no,
have a good defense. They have the weapons, and he gets to play the Patriots twice.
Yeah, but you got to remember, he's almost on the retirement end if he doesn't retire. So he wants to stay down here in the soft weather and the sun and the pool and the water and
Yeah,
so
and I don't think he
he'll
wants
go
to
back
alienate any of the fans he still has in New England because I mean he's still the best Patriot player of all time. So I don't think he would go back to the Jets at all. Yeah, I don't think he would. I think the Giants would be a strong consideration if I was him. Replace Daniel Jones. You got a good running back. Defense is all right. The coach that you've had in New England before, and Brian Dable.
I would just love Tom Brady to go in the locker room every day and he just sees the Super Bowl 42, 46 panel every day. He just has to be reminded, Eli.
There's no way.
That would be crazy. That would be crazy. That would be my best conspiracy theory as far as the NFL.
That's funny.
Goes
I think
for
he
this
either
offseason.
goes Tampa Bay Bucks again or he goes back to the Patriots for one last send off.
Or the 49ers.
I low-key thought the Raiders. Because the Raiders, if they cut Carr, it's only a $5 million hit.
Yeah, they got to figure out Carr first.
They were saying that Aaron Rodgers might go to the Raiders. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I wouldn't be mad at Rodgers changing teams, but I honestly think the best situation for him would be the Jets.
I think so too.
Yeah.
That would be clean. That would be clean.
And I mean, the head coach of his current team, little brother, is the offensive coordinator for the Jets. And I mean, they have a defense, they have weapons. I think that would be a pretty good fit. I think that would be a better fit. I think that's the fit we thought that Russell Wilson was walking into,
Yeah.
honestly.
Let's ride.
But I don't know if teams are going to get scared because of what happened with the Russell Wilson thing and the Broncos of making a move for another quarterback this offseason.
Right. So I think we have a few minutes left. You guys want to run down through the rest of the games real quick?
Yeah, we could probably just
I
say
would love to
winners.
hear what Myles has to say about the biggest game of the week, technically, on as far as heavyweight battle goes, which is Eagles Cowboys, right?
I mean, I just want to see what Minshew is going to look like.
I'm gonna ride
That's
with the
the thing.
Eagles.
Yeah, you're going Eagles?
I'm gonna go ahead and go with the home team. I'm gonna go with the Cowboys this one time. I think Dak finally puts in the performance that we've been waiting for. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I'm gonna go with the Cowboys.
Well, and we also have to see because there's like a flu bug going around with Cowboys. So, yeah, and Parsons has it right now. So he's, I guess, going to be a game time decision for that game, which obviously would be pretty big for the Cowboys if they don't have Michael Parsons in that one. But I mean, I think the Cowboys just win this one because the Eagles do technically have less to play for. I mean, they're already going to be the number one seed in the NFC. They're going to win the NFC East. So, and they're going in with the backup quarterback. So I don't think they're going to be, too juiced up. Like it's not like, oh, this is for the division here. But I definitely think they're still going to give them a good fight. And really, I think it's just going to come down to turnovers because we saw Dallas with the turnovers help Jacksonville get back into the game. And then the game we saw the Eagles lose to Washington, they just couldn't stop fumbling the ball in that one. But it's definitely a good matchup. Even with Minshew, I still think it's a fire matchup.
It's good, but I'm just solely rooting for the Eagles. Just to like reiterate back to the beginning, since I'm playing Myles, I just need Minshew to like force feed AJ Brown that football. If AJ Brown could finish with like 9 catches, 100 yards, I don't care if he doesn't have a touchdown. I will be so satisfied. I'll be like, good, that's all I need. I don't need the Eagles to win. I just need AJ Brown to go off. That's all I need.
There's another
and
game
I honestly
here. See what you guys
honestly,
think.
I might just I might put in Goddard just so I can steal some targets from you. Just have that one-on-one battle between who gets the ball between Goddard and AJ Brown.
I don't know. I can't give an opinion, but George Kittle's been balling. That's all I'll say. Seahawks Chiefs. That's a sick one.
I honestly think that's going to be the highest scoring game of the weekend.
That
or Packers Dolphins.
And I don't know. It's just, I mean, the Dolphins defense has been bad this year. But I honestly, the Seahawks.
I think that might be a really low scoring game, actually, Myles, for some reason.
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong.
I don't know.
I'm going to the game on Christmas Day, so I hope we get a shootout. Aaron Rodgers, Dolphins, but
I mean,
I don't know. I'm just skeptical about the Dolphins defense, and I don't think the Packers really have any game plan on defense. I especially after watching that Eagles game a couple weeks ago and just seeing them let Hurts run all over the place on them.
Yeah,
I don't get what their game plan was. And then even when they had the Monday night game, and even when they had the Titans come into town with Malik Willis as a starting quarterback, like they still couldn't get off the field. So I do think that the Dolphins will be able to move the ball, but I mean it is still Rodgers on the other side, so we have to see. But for the Seahawks Chiefs game, I honestly, with Hurts being out and it might be a couple of weeks before we see him again, this is the game I think we see Mahomes solidify himself as MVP.
Right, I'm with you.
I think they'll put up numbers on the Seahawks defense.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, the Seahawks are so bad on the road. That's the thing. They're so bad on the road. If the Seahawks were a home team, I low key would pick the Seahawks to win by like a field goal. Because I feel like they can do that at home, but with it being in Kansas City, and it's going to be Christmas Eve, I'm pretty sure Patrick Mahomes wants to put on a show, and I could generally see him going off for like 5 touchdowns, and like honestly, like Myles said, taking back that MVP race, and to me that would be the best storyline. This all season they trade Tyreek Hill. Everyone thinks the offense is going to be like. Okay.
Best storyline is still Hurts.
Oh well,
best
yeah.
Storyline still Hurts.
But to go like if Mahomes loses Hill, arguably the most dynamic weapon in all of football, and then he comes back, he is like number 1 in almost so many passing categories, and then wins MVP. It'll be like okay, like it's solidified. Mahomes is there.
Oh yeah.
No, yeah. Well, I think that's already pretty solidified.
Yeah, he's
Just based off the storyline that you presented with, how we thought the offense would fall off with the loss of Hill.
yeah. Before the season, I was thinking like the Chiefs. I wouldn't say I couldn't dare say they were going to be better, but I felt like Mahomes was going to be more unleashed now that he's not just throwing to kind of two guys, which is Kelsey and Hill. And he had just kind of spread out the ball and really show his talent. And now I just feel like, again, I'll mention it again, Angel, and you're going to be happy about this. McKinnon, that for them,
I need
his
him to
play
go
has
off.
just opened up Mahomes so much.
Yeah, that's why
He-
like
He's getting the 8 to 12 yards plays whenever he wants. So it just opens up Marcus Valdez Scantling. It opens up the deep ball. It opens
Even
up
Juju we've seen come on the last couple of weeks,
Juju's been
especially as
good
far
for
as
them.
targets.
Been good.
The only thing that scares me with them is that the Texans were able to move the ball on them like no problem at all.
right.
That's why I'm like, I think the Seahawks might be able to actually move the ball on them,
I think so
especially because
too.
we've seen Geno be decent this year, and we'll see what happens with Kenneth Walker. But I think if they have him back, that really makes that offense a lot more explosive. The only thing is that Tyler Lockett will be missing the game. So if they can shut down DK, that then maybe I can see the offense stalling out, especially in the passing game.
Oh, well, I think we kind of hit like all the big marquee games. So, me and Miles will let you go. Everyone, we had an awesome time. Me and Miles will be back on Monday. We'll probably tell you guys who won and who lost in our fantasy matchup and who will be going to the final playing for the trophy and $850. So just note, yeah, it might be a weird episode on Monday because one of us is gonna be like, yeah, man, you beat me. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes, definitely. But we always appreciate Moises for joining us, coming back for his second appearance on the podcast. Second or third?
Third now.
Third now. Wow. So I think you're leading the pack as far as guests that we've had on 305
yeah.
takes. So
Has to be.
always appreciate you for making the time for us, homie.
I appreciate you guys having me. Good luck on your matchup, and congratulations to you both for being in the Final Four. You know that's the best feeling there is. So
Yep.
thanks again for having me, and go Dolphins, go Ravens.